Do you remember when Panera Bread was the place to be? For years, it was a cozy middle ground between fast food and a sit-down restaurant. The smell of freshly baked bread hit you as soon as you walked in. You could grab a warm soup in a bread bowl, order a salad that felt a little more wholesome than a greasy burger, and settle into a booth with your laptop while enjoying free Wi-Fi. For college students, office workers, and families, Panera wasn't just a place to eat, it was a lifestyle. But if you walk into many Panera locations today, the picture looks very different. Dining rooms feel emptier, the excitement is gone, and the once loyal crowd has drifted away. So what happened? How did a company that defined an entire category, fast casual dining, fall so far so fast? This is the story of Panera Bread's rise, its decline, and why people simply don't eat there anymore. The Panera story actually begins back in the 1980s with a small regional bakery chain called the St. Louis Bread Company. It was founded on a simple idea: bake fresh bread daily and serve it to the community. At the time, this wasn't revolutionary, but the potential was enormous. In 1993, the company was acquired by Au Bon Pain, a growing cafe chain, and soon rebranded as Panera Bread. The goal was clear: create a new kind of restaurant experience. Not fast food, not fine dining, something in between. This was the birth of what we now call fast casual. The concept promised food that felt fresher and healthier than traditional fast food, while still being quick and convenient. Panera leaned into soups, sandwiches, and salads, along with artisan-style bread that gave the chain an identity. And here's where Panera was clever. They weren't just selling food, they were selling an environment. Comfortable seating, cozy decor, fireplaces in some locations, and of course, free Wi-Fi. Remember, in the late 1990s and early 2000s, that was a huge deal. Panera became a natural gathering spot for students, remote workers, and casual meetings. By the early 2000s, Panera was unstoppable. The brand grew rapidly, opening thousands of locations across the United States. Its menu became instantly recognizable. The You Pick Two deal, the mac and cheese bread bowl, and seasonal soups that people looked forward to each year. For many customers, Panera represented a healthier alternative. Sure, not everything on the menu was truly healthy, but it felt healthier. The branding emphasized clean food before that was even a buzzword. People could eat there and convince themselves it was a better choice than a Big Mac or a fried chicken sandwich. Panera also positioned itself as upscale but accessible. A lunch there was pricier than McDonald's, but it didn't break the bank like a sit-down restaurant. It fit neatly into the lives of middle-class Americans who wanted both convenience and quality. And for a while, the formula worked perfectly. By the mid-2000s, Panera was one of the most admired names in the industry. Its stock price soared, its brand was beloved, and it seemed like the chain could do no wrong. But as we've seen with countless restaurant empires, rapid success often leads to cracks beneath the surface. For Panera, the turning point came in 2017, when the company was purchased by JAB Holding Company for an eye-popping $7.5 billion. JAB is a private equity firm known for buying up food and beverage companies. They also own Krispy Kreme, Pret A Manger, Peet's Coffee, and Caribou Coffee, among others. And if you know anything about private equity, you know how this story usually ends. Aggressive cost-cutting, a focus on short-term profits, and gradual erosion of brand identity. For Panera, this meant changes behind the scenes that customers quickly started to notice. Recipes were streamlined. Overnight bakers, once central to Panera's identity, were laid off in many locations. Bread that used to be baked fresh daily began to feel more mass-produced. Instead of focusing on the cafe experience, Panera began rolling out gimmicks like coffee subscriptions, flatbread pizzas, and delivery services. The brand's core promise, wholesome, high-quality food served in a warm and welcoming environment, was being diluted in the name of efficiency, and customers could feel the difference. One of the first things customers noticed after the buyout was price creep. Panera had always been more expensive than fast food, but people were willing to pay a little extra for quality and atmosphere. Over time, though, the prices kept going up, while portions quietly shrank. What was once considered a decent value started to feel like a ripoff. Paying over $12 for a half sandwich and a small salad might have made sense when Panera was at its peak, but as the food declined in quality, the premium price tag became harder to justify. And in a market where new competitors like Sweetgreen, Cava, and even Chick-fil-A offered fresher, trendier, or cheaper options, Panera's value proposition started to collapse. Another major blow was the constant tinkering with the menu. Beloved items would disappear with little explanation, leaving loyal customers frustrated. At the same time, new menu additions often felt uninspired or out of touch. Flatbread pizza, grocery store products, and even meal subscriptions all seemed like desperate attempts to capture new revenue streams, rather than staying true to the bakery cafe DNA that made Panera special in the first place. The chain had built its reputation on fresh bread, the one thing customers could count on. But when even that began to slip, Panera started to feel like just another generic chain. Panera was a pioneer in fast casual, but by the 2010s, the landscape had changed. Chipotle had revolutionized customizable Mexican food. Sweet Green became a symbol of health-conscious, millennial dining. Starbucks expanded aggressively into food offerings, blurring the line between coffee shop and cafe. And Chick-fil-A positioned itself as a premium fast food option with consistent quality and service. Suddenly, Panera wasn't the cool, modern alternative anymore. It was the aging brand in a crowded market. Panera's reputation also took a serious hit from a series of viral controversies. The most famous was the frozen mac and cheese incident. A TikTok video showed an employee dunking a sealed plastic bag of mac and cheese into boiling water before serving it. While this practice is common in the restaurant industry, it shattered the illusion that Panera's food was freshly prepared. Customers felt deceived, and the video spread like wildfire. Then came the charged lemonade scandal. Panera marketed the drink as a refreshing, plant-based energy option, but it contained dangerous amounts of caffeine, far more than a typical energy drink. Lawsuits were filed after customers experienced severe health problems, and in some tragic cases, deaths were linked to the beverage. Even after Panera added warning labels, the damage to its image was permanent. These incidents reinforced the growing perception that Panera was no longer transparent or trustworthy. Even the in-store experience, once Panera's biggest selling point, deteriorated. Cutbacks in staffing led to slower service. Dining rooms felt less welcoming. Orders placed online or through apps were often wrong, incomplete, or cold by the time they arrived. What had once been a cozy, reliable place to eat turned into an inconsistent and often frustrating experience. In trying to chase every possible market trend, Panera forgot what made people love them in the first place: a comfortable, reliable place for fresh, tasty food. The downfall of Panera isn't just about one chain. It's part of a larger story about what happens when private equity takes over beloved brands. On paper, the strategy makes sense. Streamline operations, cut costs, and boost profits. But in practice, these moves often strip away the very soul of the company. Customers can tell when corners are being cut. They notice when portion sizes shrink, when favorite items disappear, when food feels mass-produced rather than made with care. And in today's market where competition is fierce, customers have endless alternatives. Panera didn't just lose its edge, it lost its identity. Panera Bread is still around. It still operates thousands of locations across the United States. But the energy that once made it a cultural staple is gone. The chain continues to experiment with new offerings and marketing strategies, but many feel it has spread itself too thin. Is it a bakery, a coffee shop, a healthy lunch spot, a subscription service? Even Panera doesn't seem to know anymore. The result is a brand that feels watered down, overpriced, and uninspired. So what can we learn from Panera's downfall? First, reputation doesn't last forever. Customers might give you the benefit of the doubt for a while, but if you fail to deliver on quality, value, and identity, they will move on. Second, chasing trends isn't the same as having a strategy. Panera tried to be everything at once and ended up being nothing in particular. And finally, you can't cut costs at the expense of the customer experience. Panera built its empire on fresh bread, warm food, and a welcoming atmosphere. When those things disappeared, so did the loyalty of its customers. Is it possible for Panera to return to its former glory? Maybe, but it would take a complete recommitment to its original values. Fresh, high-quality food, a cozy and consistent cafe environment, and genuine care for its customers. Until then, Panera Bread remains a cautionary tale, A reminder that even the most beloved brands can lose their way when they forget what made people love them in the first place.